Somewhere on an icy stretch of Interstate 80 in Wyoming, a trucker feels his trailer start to slide out beside the cab. The owner's manual says the small lever on his steering column must never be touched while driving. He reaches up and uses it anyway, and it saves his rig. Trucking is full of moves like that, banned, outlawed, or forbidden by the manual, that drivers with 30 years and 3 million miles still swear by. Today, we are counting down 10 of them. And number 1 has probably saved more lives than any law ever written. Quick word before the countdown. Trucking has 2 rule books. There is the official one, written by regulators, insurance companies, and engineers in office parks, and there is the unofficial one, passed down at fuel islands and loading docks from drivers who survived long enough to teach it. Sometimes the official rule book is right, and a few of the tricks on this list genuinely belong in the past. But sometimes the road teaches lessons that no regulation ever caught up with. We will be honest about which is which. Let's get rolling. Number 10. Floating gears. If you walk into any CDL school in the country, the instructor will drill one thing into you until you dream about it. Double clutching. Clutch in, pull it out of gear, clutch out, rev match, clutch in, slide it into the next gear. That is the official way to shift an 18 speed. And if you float your gears on the CDL road test, most examiners will stack up points against you or fail you outright. So every student dutifully double clutches their way through the exam, gets their license, drives to their first job, and then never touches the clutch again except at stoplights. Because out in the real world, nearly every experienced driver floats. Floating gears means shifting without the clutch at all, matching engine RPM to road speed so precisely that the shifter slides between gears like it is greased. An Eaton Fuller transmission, the big non-synchronized gearbox in most American trucks, is actually happiest this way. When your RPMs are matched, there is no grinding, no wear, and the clutch, a part that costs thousands of dollars to replace, barely gets used. Old-timers can float from second gear to 18th on a highway on-ramp without the truck ever lurching, and a passenger would never know the clutch pedal existed. The schools ban it because a student who floats badly grinds gears into metal shavings. Fair enough. But the veterans see it differently. The rule exists to protect beginners from themselves. The skill exists to make the truck last 1,000,000 miles. And if that one only risks a transmission, this next one risks a lot more, because it involves taking a loaded truck out of gear entirely. Number 9. The Georgia overdrive. Ask an old driver from the 70s what a Georgia overdrive is, and watch him grin. It means shifting into neutral at the top of a hill and letting 80,000 pounds coast down on nothing but gravity and prayer. Back when trucks ran weak 2-stroke Detroit diesels that struggled to hold 60 on flat ground, drivers rolling across Georgia, Tennessee, and the long, gentle swells of the Midwest would kick the transmission into neutral on every downhill, let the truck build free speed, and carry that momentum halfway up the next climb. Free fuel, free miles per hour, and in an era of paper logbooks and loose enforcement, free time. It is illegal in every single state. Coasting downhill out of gear will fail you on a CDL test instantly, and for good reason. A truck in neutral has no engine braking at all. If the hill turns out steeper than you thought or a car cuts in front of you, your only tool is the service brakes, and brakes on a heavy truck fade fast when they get hot. Drivers died learning that lesson, which is exactly why the law exists. So why do some old hands still defend it? Because on the terrain where they used it, long, shallow grades and flat country, the risk was genuinely small, and the fuel savings were real money in an owner-operator's pocket. The veterans will tell you the ban is correct for the mountains and overkill for Kansas. Modern trucks with automated transmissions actually do a legal version of this now, called coast mode, proving the old-timers had the physics right all along. They just did it 30 years before the engineers made it official. That one was about saving fuel. The next one is about catching 80,000 pounds of sliding trailer in the half second before it becomes a jackknife. Number 8. The trolley valve trick. On the steering column of an older truck, there is a small lever most modern drivers have never touched. It is the lever from the icy Wyoming morning that opened this video. Drivers call it the trolley valve. the hand valve, or the Johnson bar, and it applies the trailer brakes only, without touching the tractor brakes. Every owner's manual says the same thing about it. This valve is for testing trailer brake function while parked, never for driving. Company safety departments repeat it, and instructors warn that using it wrong on a slick road can lock the trailer wheels and cause the exact jackknife you are trying to avoid. Old school drivers heard all of that, nodded politely, and kept using it anyway. Because on ice, when the trailer starts to swing out and slide around beside the cab, a skilled driver could reach up and feather that valve, applying gentle drag to the trailer wheels only. The braking force at the back of the trailer acts like a tail on a kite. It pulls the whole rig straight. Drivers who ran the Rocky Mountain passes and the frozen stretches of Interstate 80 treated the trolley valve like a lifeline. It was a way to catch a sliding trailer in that first half second before a slide became a disaster. The manuals were not wrong about the danger. In clumsy hands, that lever makes everything worse. Modern trailers with anti-lock brakes changed the equation, and many new trucks do not even have the valve anymore. But talk to a gray-haired driver who spent winters hauling reefer loads over Donner Pass, and he will tell you that little lever saved his trailer, his load, and possibly his life more than once. Speaking of winter, the next two hacks come straight from the coldest mornings on the northern plains, and both of them can destroy a modern engine. Number 7. Gasoline in the diesel tank. Diesel fuel has a weakness that every northern driver knows. In deep cold, the paraffin wax in diesel starts to crystallize, turning the fuel into something like cloudy slush. Truckers call it gelling. And when it happens, the fuel filter clogs, the engine starves, and the truck dies wherever it happens to be sitting, which in North Dakota in January is a genuine emergency. The old school fix was simple and absolutely forbidden today. Drivers would pour a few gallons of gasoline, or more commonly kerosene, straight into the diesel tanks. The lighter fuel thinned the diesel, dropped its gel point, and kept it flowing at 20 and 30 below zero. On the old mechanical engines, the Big Cats and Cummins and Detroits with simple injection pumps, the blend mostly worked. Those engines were crude, forgiving, and hard to kill. But every manufacturer banned the practice, and on a modern truck, the ban is deadly serious. Today's common rail diesels push fuel at pressures over 30,000 psi through injectors machined to tolerances finer than a human hair, and the fuel itself lubricates those parts. Gasoline strips that lubrication away. A gasoline blend in a modern diesel voids the warranty, and far worse, it can grenade a fuel system worth more than $10,000. The veterans who did it were not reckless. They were making a calculated trade with the equipment of their era, choosing engine wear over freezing to death on the side of Highway 2 in Montana. Today, the same problem is solved with winter blend fuel at the pump and a bottle of anti-gel additive, which is really just the old kerosene trick, cleaned up, measured, and sold with a label. Number 6. The ether habit. Same frozen morning, different banned solution. When a diesel engine is cold soaked at 30 below, the cylinders cannot generate enough heat to ignite the fuel, and the engine just cranks and cranks in the dark. The old remedy lived in a spray can in every truck's side box. Ether, starting fluid. A helper cracks the intake, gives one short burst into the air cleaner. The driver hits the key, and an engine that was dead a moment ago rattles to life in a cloud of white smoke. For generations of drivers running the winter oil fields and the northern interstates, ether was as standard as coffee, and nearly every engine maker prohibits it. The reason is right there in the chemistry. Ether ignites far more violently than diesel, and if a driver gets greedy with the can, the explosion inside the cylinder arrives before the piston is ready for it. That is how pistons crack, rods bend, and head gaskets let go. Worse, many modern diesels use an electric grid heater in the intake to warm incoming air, and spraying ether across a glowing heater element can set off an explosion in the intake itself. On those engines, the ban is not lawyer talk. It is a genuine do not ever. The old hands knew the rule and knew the exception. On the old engines without heaters, one disciplined half-second burst carried almost no risk, and it beat a frozen night in the bunk waiting for a service truck. The trick was never the ether. The trick was the restraint. As one old driver put it, the can starts the engine, the second spray buys the wrecker. If you are enjoying this ride through the unofficial rule book, hit subscribe. This channel digs into trucking, highways, and blue-collar life every single week. Now, number 5. The only hack on this list where the ban is still on the books and the workaround is completely untouchable: the Bear Report Network. Since 1994, federal regulation has flatly banned radar detectors in commercial trucks. Rule 392.71 says a truck cannot even carry one that is hooked to power. A four-wheeler can mount a detector on the dash in most states and drive right past the scale house. A trucker doing the same thing is looking at a violation, a fine, and points against the carrier's safety score. So professional drivers, the people who spend 11 hours a day exposed to every speed trap in America, are the one group forbidden from using the technology. Their answer was older than the ban and better than the gadget: the CB radio. Channel 19 became a living, rolling radar detection network stretched across every interstate in the country, powered by nothing but drivers looking out for each other. A trucker rolling past a trooper keys up and calls it out. Smoky report, bear in the median at the 212 yardstick taking pictures. Within seconds, every driver for 10 miles in both directions knows exactly where the radar is. Northbound drivers warn southbound drivers, hand to hand, mile after mile, all day long. County officers were smokies, unmarked cars were plane wrappers, a police helicopter was a bear in the air. Authorities never loved it, and over the years there were politicians who wanted CB warnings restricted too. It never stuck. The network survives to this day, running parallel to every app and detector ever invented because it does something technology cannot. It carries judgment. A machine beeps at a radar gun. A driver tells you the bear is working the construction zone where the fines double, but the radio can only warn you about what is ahead. The next hack is for the day the road already has you. Number 4. Rocking it out. Sooner or later, every driver gets stuck. A snowed-in truck stop in Wisconsin, a soft gravel lot behind a grain elevator, an icy customer yard that was never plowed. The drive tires spin, the truck squats, and 80,000 pounds goes nowhere. The official answer, written into most fleet policies, is to stop immediately and call for a tow, because the unofficial answer destroys clutches. That unofficial answer is rocking. The driver eases forward until the tires start to slip, then backs off and rolls back into the ruts. Forward again, back again, building a rhythm like pushing a kid on a swing. Each cycle stretches the ruts a little longer until one last forward surge climbs out. Fleets ban it because a clumsy driver rocking a truck slips the clutch until it smokes, and a clutch job on a big truck can run $4,000 or $5,000 with the downtime. The veterans answer that math with their own. A heavy wrecker call starts around $1,000 and can run far past $2,000, plus hours of waiting while the load goes late. A driver who knows the rhythm, who flips on the differential lock so both drive tires pull together, who keeps the front wheels dead straight and never lets the tires spin wildly, can walk a stuck truck out of snow in 5 minutes with barely any wear at all. The skill separating those outcomes is feel, and feel is exactly what a written policy cannot teach. So the companies ban the technique for everyone, and the old hands quietly keep using it because they know the ban was written for the driver who never learned it right. Rocking gets a truck out of the snow. Number 3 keeps two complete strangers alive at 70 miles an hour in the dark. Number 3, the headlight language. For decades, drivers across America have been pulled over and ticketed for flashing their headlights. Police in multiple states treated a quick flash of the high beams, the classic warning that a speed trap waits over the hill, as obstructing an officer or misusing equipment. Drivers fought those tickets for years, and eventually a federal court in Missouri ruled that flashing your lights to warn other drivers is protected speech under the First Amendment. But for most of trucking history, that flash sat in a legal gray zone, and plenty of drivers paid fines for it. Truckers never stopped, because for them, headlights are not decoration. They are a full language. The most important phrase in it works like this. A truck passing another truck at night cannot safely judge when its trailer has cleared the slower truck's front bumper. 65 feet of vehicle, mirrors full of glare, no way to be sure. So the driver being passed watches, and the moment the passing trailer is clear, he flashes his headlights off and on. That flash means you are clear. Come on over. The passing driver slides back into the right lane and answers by flashing the trailer lights. Left, right, left. Thank you. Two strangers doing 65 in the dark just had a complete conversation. Add the hazard flasher warning for stop traffic ahead, the courtesy dim on a 2-lane, and yes, the quick high beam flash that says a bear is sitting in the median a mile up. Put it all together and you have a communication system older than the interstates themselves. The law spent 40 years deciding whether that language was legal. The drivers spent those same 40 years using it to keep each other alive. Every hack so far broke a rule the drivers still disagree with. Number 2 is different. It is the only hack on this list that used to be banned, and no longer is. Number 2, the split sleeper trick. For most of modern trucking, federal hours of service rules push drivers toward one rigid pattern. Take your entire 10 hours of rest in one block, then drive your shift against a 14-hour clock that never stops ticking. The problem is that the freight world does not run on tidy blocks. A driver gets loaded at dawn, hits a 4-hour delay at a receiver at noon, and now his 14-hour window is burning away while he sits in a parking lot doing nothing. The human body also does not sleep on command for 10 straight hours in a rattling parking lot at 2 in the afternoon. So for years, drivers quietly split their rest anyway. A few hours in the bunk during that dead time at the dock. A few more later at night. Logged creatively in the paper logbook era, and flat out illegally under early electronic logging. Old hands argued the whole time that splitting sleep around the freight was the safer play because it let a tired driver nap when he was actually tired instead of racing a clock. Then something rare happened. The regulators admitted the drivers were right. In 2020, federal rules were rewritten to allow a legal 7 and 3 split, letting drivers break their rest into 2 chunks with the shorter break, pausing that 14-hour clock. The banned hack became the law of the land decades after the road taught it. Veterans just shrugged. The government finally read the logbook the way we always wrote it, and that brings us to number 1, the Jake brake in the forbidden zone. Drive into almost any mountain town or quiet suburb near a highway grade and you will see the sign, engine brake prohibited. Some say no Jake brakes, and a few frustrated towns have posted signs threatening fines in the hundreds of dollars. The bans exist because an engine brake on a truck with a straight exhaust sounds like a machine gun rolling through a bedroom community at 3 in the morning, and homeowners understandably got tired of it. Fair complaint. And most ordinances technically target trucks with unmuffled exhaust. But understand what that switch actually does. A Jake brake turns the diesel engine itself into a giant air compressor that drags the truck's speed down without touching the service brakes at all. On a long downhill, that matters more than almost anything else on the truck, because service brakes on a heavy vehicle build heat with every second of pressure, and hot brakes fade. Faded brakes on a 6% grade are how runaway trucks happen, how runaway ramps get used, and how drivers die. Engine braking produces no heat in the wheels. It never fades. It is the difference between controlling 80,000 pounds and merely accompanying it down the mountain. So when the road is icy, the grade is long, and the trailer is heavy, veteran drivers flip that switch on right past the prohibition sign, and every one of them will tell you the same sentence. I would rather explain a ticket than a runaway. In 30 years, almost no one has ever regretted using the engine brake on a bad hill. Plenty of drivers and plenty of families have regretted the opposite. Look at this whole list, and one pattern runs through it. Nearly every rule here was written for the worst driver on the road, the beginner grinding gears, the rookie spraying half a can of ether, the panicked hand yanking a trolley valve on ice. The rules are averages, written for the middle of the bell curve, not for the sharp end of it. But the veterans on this list were never average, and the hacks they swear by all come down to the same thing: judgment earned 1 mile at a time, 3 million times over. The proof is number 2. When the regulators finally studied real driver behavior, they did not punish the trick. They adopted it. The road was the teacher all along. The rule book was just taking notes. If you liked riding shotgun for this one, subscribe for more from the world of trucking and the American highway. And if you want to see what happens when drivers ignore the one rule they never should, watch our video on the most dangerous mountain grades in America next. Keep the shiny side up, and we will see you down the road.